On this episode, we have the brilliant, the talented, the girl all over the world, founder and CEO of CultureCon, but most importantly, my friend, Imani Ellis.
Hey, Jazz.
Hi. Imani, my girl, you know I admire you so much, and I'm so glad to have you here on my podcast.
Oh, Jazz, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So, Imani, how has 2024 been for you so far? I feel like you've been traveling, and you know I've been keeping up with your stories, but I don't know, I feel like you're always somewhere. So how's 2024 been for you so far?
2024 has been really good. Interesting. I kind of have a new frame of mind this year. And for me, it's lower the stakes.
Ooh.
I've been someone that everything is an emergency. Everything is a level 6. And I'm like, girl, it's steak or fish.
Yeah.
Why are you just lower the stakes? And I've kind of freed myself from the stress of everything has to be a 10. Then I can save energy for when it's actually a 10. So I love it here, Jazz. I really do.
So you've been kind of chilling and kind of just taking things as they come. So kind of hey, I'm not going to get worried about it, because I feel like you've accomplished so much, and we'll get into that. But do you feel like that kind of comes from that because you've kind of been in these big roles your entire life? So now you're kind of let me take a step back and just, it's not that deep in a way, kind of?
Girl, yes. Yeah. Because I come from crisis PR, where everything was an emergency. And so I had trained my body that everything is a fire. But my cortisol levels, girl, it just wasn't sustainable.
I'm telling you, because cortisol levels, I'm telling you, my face be puffy. I'd be needing to ice my face.
Girl.
I'm it's not that deep, Jasmine. Just chill out.
It's not that deep. And sometimes it is that deep, but most of the time, it's not that deep. And so 2024 has been really checking in with myself and asking myself, what does Imani need? And then serving that. In the past, I never asked that question. I never said, what does Imani need? It was, what does everyone else need? I didn't consider myself as someone who needed something. And I think this is the first year of my life where I'm
a little bit of selfishness, just a little bit.
Because I thought that was a bad word.
Yeah, I feel like we all kind of grew up with that. No, it's always about everybody else serving everybody else. So that's good to kind of point out that it's okay.
It's okay.
And
the world goes on when you take a vacation. And I think that's why you got to lower the stakes. Because I used to say, if I take a vacation, it's all going to crumble. It doesn't crumble. Life goes on. More deals happen. I love it.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
So let's kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. You have always been known for just building community. Honestly, truly, I think that's the first time I met you. It was at an event. And actually, I got a really good friend, Gina. Yes. And it's funny because I'm wow, I was new to Atlanta. That was my first event. And then I think that's where
That was your first event?
Yeah, in Atlanta.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember when you invited me out, it was so many creatives, and we were at this table, and we were just getting super deep. And that's when I shared, I was I really want to go into TV. I want to just see. And then literally the next time I talked to you, I was on the show. I was wait, that was what I said at the table.
National television.
So literally you've been cultivating these spaces for such a long time. So what did that look like growing up? Has community always been a part of your journey? Is that something you always enjoyed? Is that something that you always kind of needed to become Imani?
Yeah, growing up, so both of my parents are pastors, and when I was younger, they were missionaries. So we moved all around the country, mostly in the Southeast, and all I really had was my sisters. So everywhere we went, we had to build community and start over. And when I was younger, girl, I hated it. My dad would come in and be like, all right, we're moving, and I would cry, I would throw a fit. I just was I just made friends. But after a while, it became normal that you can build community wherever you go. And so I think
because technically you're your community, right? And you're kind of it starts with you.
It starts with you. It starts with kind of your, immediate surrounding support system. And so that's my earliest recollection of community, were my sisters, and then moving to these different pockets and building community. But I've always been really attracted to noticing the person in the corner, the person who no one's talking to, the person who's trying to get into the conversation. I've always really empathized with that person, and I've never been really a shy person, but I've been introvert. So I really, girl,
this is new for me because I feel I don't know, maybe I just be talking, I just make people, I'm you're gonna talk to me. But I guess I just don't.
Yes.
Because I feel you're so good at talk. I don't know.
Well, okay, so here's the misconception. I think people think that introvert means you're shy and extrovert means you're not shy. But
Demure means shy.
Well,
the correct meaning.
yes.
Okay.
But it's actually more about where you get your energy from. So extroverts get energy from being around people. It like fills them up. Introverts get energy from being alone. And so I can I can come out and talk to people.
But I need my energy.
But then I need to go back into my cocoon. And so because of that, I'm very sensitive to energy. And I think that has been kind of the secret sauce to the community building is I notice the people who are trying to get in, and a lot of times those people are overlooked. But
because they don't have the personalities of the extroverts, but it doesn't mean that they don't still need community in their life or people to just come up and be like, hey, are you good?
Yes, or that they can't contribute or that they're not brilliant. A lot of artists are very sensitive and quiet.
I'm telling you,
and
some of the most amazing people that I've met, I'm like, wow, you're mine.
Yes, like you're mine. So you can't judge it by I think we have this misconception that if you're loud, you're right. If you're quiet, you're wrong. I am very interested in the person who like shows off with the work that they put into the world. Talkers,
I mean, sometimes it's a hit or miss. Sometimes I'm a talker, but I can also do some great things, y'all.
Yes.
But I'm definitely a talker.
But I think what I mean is like, it's not like a one size fits all. Like there can be people who maybe aren't in the center of attention. They're brilliant.
So community really started for you when you were young, and that's why it's so important to you, because you're like, I used to be that person that probably just didn't have somebody to come up to me and be like, hey, she's the shyest one in the room. Or may not even be the shyest, but hey, she's in the corner. She's kind of navigating things.
I wasn't in the corner though.
You were.
I noticed the people in the corner. I was not in the corner though, so I think that's kind of...
So even when you used to move to new places, you never even had a inkling of being like, well, let me just... Because that was like starting a new school, right?
Yeah.
You never... Because when I moved from private school to public, I was a mess, honey. I was like... I thought somebody, and I'm an extrovert, but I'm like, it was hard for me. And I literally did it on purpose where I was like, nope, I'm gonna just kind of stand in the back because I want to see like who connects with who likes who, where are the friend groups. But that's how I was. Yeah. So it didn't naturally happen for you like that?
You know what used to happen, I used to hate it, but now I love it, was the teachers would force us, right? They did that cringe thing. I was like, meet a friend. And I'd be like, oh, but secretly I loved it because it forced you to have that first connection. A lot of that we do at CultureCon. So think about going back to the first day of school and the teacher would be like, get in line, but you can't talk to each other. And we would all roll our eyes, but secretly
we were like, okay, who am I?
We were like, okay, right, who's my new friend? And so I think I would kind of use that opportunity. And I was someone like, I was always quality over quantity. I didn't need to talk to everybody. Give me one Jasmine.
Because that's all you need.
That's all you need.
But yeah, I was the same. I didn't have like a large, when they have friend groups, I'm like, sometimes when I watch these shows or movies, or even when I see like content where people are taking like friend group, I mean, sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I had that, but I didn't have that because I'm a very much so quality friendship, relationship person, because I know what I'm going to pour into it. And I'm like, wow, I can't be my best version of myself with someone if I'm sharing 85 pieces of myself with all these different people.
That's good. I was more of a chameleon. So like I was a theater kid. I ran track. I did tours. And I always wanted to kind of be myself in all of these spaces. And I think I didn't fit one place. I fit like a lot of places. And so it was kind of like a mosaic of my life. I think it got harder to be myself as I like left high school and went to college, because in college people were like, no, be one thing.
Yeah.
Be
like,
one.
what do you want to do with your life?
Yeah, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And I was like, I'm 18. I don't know what color I want to wear tomorrow. Yeah. But in high school, girl.
I'm telling you, the sky was the limit.
Absolutely.
I think I did homecoming court. I was like a basketball statistician. Why? I'm horrible with numbers. I just was doing it all just because I could do it. And then you're right though, when you get to college, you're like, well, you feel like this like kind of cloud comes over you. Like, oh my God, I better figure it out. Because I think that put pressure on me too. I was like, yeah, I don't really know. Like, I know I like TV. I know I like talking. I know I like these things. But somebody's telling me I better do this or else type of thing. Yeah. Which led me to do all types of
all types of things. There are so many dreams inside of us. And now that I look back, I wish I could tell younger Imani, they're wrong. You don't have to be one version of yourself. Plot twist, you're actually going to have like 8 more versions of yourself. And so that was what I knew to be true. And so I think I'm coming back to understanding that I can do so many different things.
So with doing so many different things, entrepreneurship is pretty much, I would say, one of the main things that you do with that, right? So have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or do you feel like, again, that's just one of the versions of yourself that you pursued and it kind of came naturally after cultivating community to then build Culture Con?
Jazz, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur.
What?
Never.
You're so good.
Girl, I know.
But you know those things that, like, you know how, like, people meet you?
Yes.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, you would be so great at this.
Yes.
And then you're like, well, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But then it ends up being something that you're amazing at.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's kind of how entrepreneurship was for you? Or do you feel like you kind of like, it just happened? And then you were like, oh, wait, I kind of like this.
It didn't just happen. My dad has a saying where he's like, you go from something to something. So I think it's all kind of tied together.
Connected.
But I wanted to be a corporate baddie for life. Like, I had one dream, and my dream was to be a corporate baddie for life, to have a corner office, to clock out at 6 p.m.
Period. That's it.
That was my dream, and I never dreamed beyond it. And so Creative Collective, I was using the skills and the purpose and the community that I was good at, and it was growing. And if I'm honest with you, at first I was a little annoyed that it was growing.
Because what about all the things I put all this other time into and it didn't do as well as this?
Yes, and this isn't the dream. My dream is corporate. So like it kept growing on the side, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like, okay, I would water it.
Well, just a little fertilizer here and there, a little sprinkle.
But I was looking at my garden, and I was really happy until the point it came that I couldn't ignore. She had grown into this like massive thing, and it took my mom and dad to be like, because I was like, oh, it's just a hobby. And they were like, and
Actually not.
Actually not. And so I do think for people who maybe haven't had it on their heart the whole time, you can go from something to something. I took all the skills that I learned in corporate, building teams, managing budgets, talking to clients.
And you just put it into...
And I put it into my own purpose and my own dream. And so I never regret that corporate. Like, I feel like that was business school for me. I got to learn how to delegate, be diplomatic, handle crisis. I learned how to manage money, manage people. And I was able to transfer all of those skills to like build my own business. I couldn't have done one without the other.
So with all of that, you literally had to climb the ranks at NBC, and then you ended up becoming VP. And then I don't even think it was that long. And then you announced that you were leaving. And I was like, I think I was in tears, because I was like, wait, because I feel like a lot of people kind of, well, I already know people look up to you, but imagine, like you said, you wanted to be a corporate baddie your entire life. You're reaching it. You're getting there. Like, it's happening. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm about to take this leap of faith and I'm just going to go for it. And it's completely opposite. How did that feel, being able to be like, I'm about to walk away from everything that I thought I wanted?
Yeah, I was at NBC for a third of my life. I was there for 10 years, and I got there when I was 21. I left when I was 31, and I really felt like I had left it all on the field. Everything that I had wanted to do, work with Andy Cohen, get him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, do BravoCon. I mean, I grew up at NBC, and I had a really good boss. And I think a lot of people want to leave corporate or want to leave a situation because they're not happy there. For me, I was like,
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm actually happy. I love my people.
I had a corner office. I had the neon sign, and so, but there was a whisper, Jazz. And I tried so hard to be like, that makes no sense.
Like, no, I'm ignoring you.
It's very inconvenient.
Yeah, like, goodbye.
Do you not see what's in front of you? It would not go away. And so I talked and I prayed to God and I said, what is that? What should I do? And the whisper was like, it's time.
You gotta.
Your desire was to be a vice president. You're vice president, you're 30 years old. I gave you what you wanted.
So now. Yeah.
Because I think if you're not careful, you will attach too much of your purpose to one title. And when you put too much of a purpose in a title, that you'll overstay.
And it's very interesting you say that, because a lot of my castmates and friends that have been on reality TV, I've noticed that they keep it. And they're like, well, Jasmine, why don't you want to come back on and do this podcast? Why don't you? I'm like, because I don't want my identity to be wrapped up in one title and one thing I did.
Yeah.
I'm so much more than that, that I want to be able to pursue other things. That was a stepping stone, right? That was something I never accomplished, but okay, we marked it off the list, but now it's like, okay, but I learned so much about myself with that title. What's the next one?
What's next? Because you do get to a point where it's diminishing returns. Now
it's like buying a car. Baby, once you drive off that lot, that's it.
Now we're moving backwards. If
Yeah.
you're not learning, if you're not challenged, if you're not growing, and you're just like, no, this is the title, this is my identity, you might be foregoing future versions of yourself. I like to think of my life as a Wikipedia page. I don't know if I've ever read a Wikipedia page from someone that I admire that says they were born, they had one job, and then they died. That is fine if that's your journey and your purpose.
Because everybody has their thing.
Everyone has their own
Some
path.
people may want to be a doctor, and that's it.
And that's it.
That's fine.
And that's fine. But I think for my journey, like if you go back to childhood, I knew that there were a lot of different dreams in me. And so I think that's why it's important not to compare yourself to different people's journeys. Because you're right.
I'm bad at that. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna hold you. I mean, we're clearing the air here. I compare myself a lot. So that's very good to hear, especially from somebody that's done so much, because I think we get wrapped up in the fact of like, oh my God, I'm not moving fast enough. You know, I said I was gonna do this, but it's not really working out. Like, am I not supposed to be doing this? I saw this one quote and was like, I don't really know if I should even really think about this quote often, but it was like, if you're failing at it so many times, is that what you're supposed to be doing? And I was like, it made me think a little bit, but then I'm like, but what if you want to fail fast and then figure it out and be like, okay, let's move on to the next thing, you know?
I think so much of it is being honest with yourself of why are you doing the things? And only we know. Are you doing this because your parents want you to do this? Are you doing this because it looks good metric-wise? Are you doing this for Instagram? Or do you actually want to do this? Because that's what I was stuck with was, my career it makes so much sense on paper. Me leaving as a VP does not make sense, but I want a life that feels good, not a life that just looks good. At the end of the day, you will know, I shouldn't have stayed there that long. We all know the truth. Now, whether we want to listen to the truth is different, but in our hearts, we're like, do I really want to be here? Or is this someone else's dream that
I just feel like I'm supposed to be?
I'm living out.
Because I think that we're also in the time of social media.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and I know I'm guilty of it too,
Yeah.
you see other things, you're like, well, I could do that. Or, dang, I should be doing this. And then you realize that's what this year was for me. I was like, Jasmine, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? Like, when you get through, when you wrap shooting something, whether it be for a campaign or maybe you're moderating something or whatever the case might be, how do you feel afterwards? So I've really been trying to tap into like, Jasmine, what was little Jasmine wanting to do? And what did you put aside because your parents were like, oh no, Jasmine, you can't take that volleyball scholarship because, you know, you need to take the academic one because you got to get a job and do this. And then I went all out and I was like, actually, I'm going to nail school. They're like, girl, what? But it's interesting because I'm like, I've always loved it. I just never thought I could do it. You know what I mean? And I was like, so then it started making me tap into other things, but that's just a really good point to have. So with all of that, I'm pretty sure with you leaving NBC and then going into CultureCon full time, I know you experienced some rejection. Let's talk about that for a minute because we get rejection all the time, but it hits different when it's something that you're passionate about. So how did you navigate that? Because I think whether it's a job, whether it's the fact that you're pitching brands for partnership, whether you're trying to launch a business and sell a product, we're going to get rejection.
Yeah.
But how we handle it is another thing. So could you share about maybe a time you were rejected and you kind of bounced back from it and it kind of made you who you were today?
Oh my gosh, so much rejection. I think, well, in the beginning, the company, I would call it my baby. I don't do that anymore because we're not the same, right? Like we were so intertwined that a rejection of CultureCon felt like a rejection of Imani. And so I was like, oh, I'm not qualified. Oh, I'm dumb. Oh, this was a stupid idea. And then finally I was like, wrong. You know, these are two different entities. And so for me, what helps is like giving myself the benefit of the doubt that maybe they just can't see the vision yet. I think we default that there's something wrong with us. And it's not always about blame, but I've had so many partners who are like, we just don't get it. What's the point? And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, what is the point? Like, I would take it as,
you start questioning yourself and you're like, wait a minute, hold up.
And now it's like, you know what?
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because for everyone, it's like finding a house. It's like finding a husband. I just need one yes. I don't need 1,000 people to get it because
You just need one.
I just need one. And so I changed my mindset where I'm like, this is now a statistics game. So what I used to do, before we had a sales team, is I would probably send out, Jazz, like 50 pitches.
In a week or in a day?
In a week.
Oh my gosh.
I would put on my calendar pitch time. And I would find all of the contacts and I would send individual emails, and I had pitch time every single day. And I knew that if I sent these 50 pitches, I'd probably get 4 responses. Out of those 4 responses, I could probably get 2 phone calls. Out of those 2 phone calls,
I can get 1 yes.
I could get 1 yes. And we went from having 0 sponsors. This year, CultureCon has over 50 corporate brands showing up. So for anyone who's like, it's just the statistics game. And if you don't quit, odds are a yes is coming. Now you do have to go back to, though, why am I doing this, right?
Because it has to be worth it, because at some point when you keep getting rejected, I feel like some people kind of shut down and they're kind of like, all right, this is a wrap. Obviously I'm not good at this, whatever. But like you have to be passionate about it. But because you are, and it's a long game, it really is. I think people think that we're a microwave society, honestly. I don't care what nobody says. That's just how we are. We want things now.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it. It's just life. But when you're passionate about something, it's a long game. And you were like, you know what? All right, this is something I want to do. 50 pitches a week it is.
Let's go.
Now look at how much CultureCon has grown.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane to think that like you started from like literally sending pictures out yourself.
It is insane. Like, that's why I go back and look at the pictures of me bringing Costco Frito-Lay's boxes to CultureCon because we didn't have any food. Me and my
You're like, baby, snack lunches, let's go. Let's do
my
this.
mom, and she sends me a picture. I'm sitting there with these hand glued on flowers that said CultureCon.
It's the cutest.
But you like need to be able to remember how far you've come because it can be like, was that even me? Was that even real? And it's like, yes.
So you received rejection, but was there like one rejection story where it kind of like motivated you to be like, all right, because sometimes I get like that. Like if somebody tells me no, I'm like, oh no, that's not a no. That's a not now, because you're gonna run the block for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember very vividly before we had the first CultureCon, I went to meet with the manager of a co-working space, and I didn't have any money, so we were going to barter. Like, we would give them social posts if they gave us a space for CultureCon. I stayed up all night, Jazz, till like 2 a.m. making this deck with data, statistics, and we were going to meet in person. I get there. First of all, they're like, oh, he's not even here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. So I just sat in the lobby for 2 hours while he came from another meeting. I just waited. I was so young and
you were just kind of like, it's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And so I finally presented to him. He's on his phone, presenting my deck.
No way.
Like, my confidence is just.
I would have been like, how does your heart not?
It was breaking.
I would have started crying.
I wanted to cry. I mean, I'm literally, how old am I at this time? I'm like 23, 24. Like, I want to cry. And finally, I present him CultureCon. We haven't had one yet. So remember, there's no
nothing to go off of. Yeah.
He doesn't know that in 5 years, 10,000 people are coming. It doesn't exist yet. So I say, well, what do you think? Like, can we have CultureCon here? I promise, it'll be 200 people. It'll be really easy. This man looks me in my face and says, why is it just for people of color? This needs to be for everyone. I don't get it. And I didn't.
So, you're missing the point.
I was like,
did we not read the deck?
let me
go back to the deck.
I just told you why. But I think what hurt the most was like how he just looked and spoke in such a condescending, like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Ooh, that has to be hard to bounce back
And because
from.
I didn't have any kind of, I promise it could work. I was like, well, thank you for your time. And I went and I cried. I still remember, I went down on Prince Street and I cried on the sidewalk because I was like, girl, you're delusional. Like, this sounded so good in your head. You are delusional. And so, but then after I cried, I got very angry. I mean,
You had to go through those emotions.
You did, because I was like, I had internalized what he said. I didn't have a filter to be like, girl, just because he doesn't see it, like, I didn't have a filter at the time. So whatever he was telling me, I thought it was true. So I went down, I cried on Prince Street. I went home, listened to some Beyonce, and I got very angry. And I said, oh, it doesn't make sense? It's a stupid idea? And then next day, I emailed 10 other co-working spaces.
You're like, I'm not giving up.
And I got a yes. And then after that, and that's what happens with the momentum. You get a yes. And then then a friend texted me and said, hey, Spike Lee wants to do this. And we got a yes. And then another friend said, hey, my friend is going to donate some spirits. And I got a yes. And it just kept
going and going.
Yeah.
And now.
And so.
It's almost like delusion kind of sometimes sets you up for success.
A little bit of Delulu.
Your
dreams come true.
Yeah. That's how I say it.
A little bit.
That's all I need.
Yeah, match it with execution, and it's a great formula. You got to be careful, though, because anger will not sustain you, but it's a great catalyst.
Yeah, that's what I feel like sometimes it just motivates me just enough to be like, you know what, Jasmine? But you can. Actually, let's keep going.
But you can.
And like, I don't know. It's so crazy to me because I feel like so many people launch things, do things, and it doesn't turn out the way they want the first time. And we do give up. But I feel like your story is just, I don't know, it's the blueprint for a lot of entrepreneurs, really, truly. Because think about how many events there are. Yeah. But there's only one CultureCon, and everybody knows it. When I said, actually, the other day I was talking to somebody, I said, they were like, I want to invite you to something. It's in October. I said, when in October? I said, I'll be out of town. And then they were like, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, I'll be in New York. And they were like, CultureCon? I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I didn't have to say a word.
That's
you know what I
amazing.
mean? Like, that's how far it's come where, well, if it's the first week, we know where you're at. And I'm like, well, good. There's no questioning. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
So I love that. So with that being said, we're a few weeks out from CultureCon, right?
Yes.
What can we expect this year? Can we get a little inside scoop? Like, I know you can't get too much because I'd be excited to like pop up on the scene and be like, oh my God. Because fun fact, I told Imani this, I've told her this like a million times, but when I got off of my show, that was the first event I went to, and I was so traumatized because I was like, I do not want to go back into society. Again, we're locked away, nothing. We don't know nothing. And I went to that event, and when I tell you, it was everything that I needed because I was like, man, it's like, I don't know. I felt like I just took a deep breath. I mean, I came. People were just so nice. I felt like I was back home. I was like, I'm not even from New York, but I felt like I was from New York. Because I'm like, it just felt like that space where I'm like, okay, this is where I can be myself. This is where I can open up. I can have these conversations with people. Nobody was like talking about the show. It was like we were all there for the same reason, but we were having such a great time. So yeah, sorry. Little fun fact. So yeah, what can we expect from CultureCon this year?
I mean, I'm so excited for this year. It's the first time CultureCon has ever had a theme. And so this year, CultureCon is going to camp. And so in the middle of Brooklyn, we are creating a campground for 10,000 creatives.
This is wild.
And you know me, like me and my friends and my coworkers, like we are world builders. And so the second you step on this campus, you're transformed into this world where it isn't about the velvet rope. It isn't about your title or your occupation. Like, how are you doing? Are you okay? And people are so not used to being asked, are you okay? That they're a little bit like, me?
That's true though. I think Skylar, she was there, and I remember I got kind of bombarded by a few fans when I first walked in, and she pulled me to the side. She had no idea who I was, and I was like, "Girl, I love you," but also like I was like, she pulled me to the side. She's like, "You good? Do you need to step over here for a second?" Like I was like, I just don't. I remember that.
Yes.
And so you're right. It is a space where it's like, how are you doing, baby?
How are you doing? And so it's gonna be amazing. You know, we have CultureCon week, which is 7 days of nonstop programming. We have 25 events during CultureCon week.
Y'all better get your good shoes on,
You
honey.
gotta get the fits ready. You know, every year I'm like, dang.
I'm telling you, be dressed.
Be dressed.
Like we're planning like a month, 2 months in advance to make sure we are stepping the right way.
It is a fashion show.
For real. Truly.
I'm
truly
so
within itself.
excited, Jazz. It's gonna be amazing, and I think having this theme right before a really big election year, everyone can decompress, everyone can lower the stakes. It's going to be a really good time.
Before holiday season, just like, y'all, let's just go have a good time.
I'll get inspired. Yeah.
So is there anything that you're most looking forward to for CultureCon this year?
Ooh, I mean, we're introducing new entire buildings. So CultureCon is growing so quickly that this year we have Activation Alley. We're introducing the Rec, which is literally interactive content studios. There's PlayStations where you can make bracelets and Play-Doh and meet people. We're doing a little bit of speed dating because I heard you could find a wife at CultureCon, Jasmine. That's what the people are saying.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. So it's going to be really just playful, and I think people are going to be able to be nostalgic and have fun and like I know it sounds so silly, but I think play is so important.
As adults?
As adults.
Oh my gosh.
And we kind of tuck it away.
But we like it. That's why we be doing all these crazy hobbies, like throwing swords and doing, and like, what's the place where you go and like hit all the, I'm telling you, we be doing stuff just to do it, but I'm like, y'all, it's because we don't have playtime anymore. We don't do anything fun. We just, it's all work and what's next, and we never take a moment to kind of be like, let's just have a good time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So is there anybody in particular that you're excited about working with this year? Are there like any new people that are like coming on the scene that you're like, okay, this is new? Now, if you can't tell us, that's fine, because I do want to keep some stuff like a little, in the vault, because I feel like that's another thing that CultureCon does so well. Is like, y'all just pop out with some of these heavy hitters and we're like, wait, what? And it just flows so naturally.
We love to pop out.
Yeah.
I mean, Yara Shahidi is going to be there, which I love.
Love her.
Law Roach, what an icon. He's
my
going to be there.
This is going to be good.
I mean, Morris Chestnut.
He has been popping up in so many different shows. Reasonable Doubt.
Yes.
I just went to the premiere and I was like, oh,
he's everywhere.
I'm like, wow, he is really popping up. I just got through watching All American. Oh my God, I cried so much. It's really embarrassing. But it was such a good show. But he was in there. I was like,
timeless.
He's so I don't think the man ages at this point. I really don't.
And so it's gonna, you know how we like to do it back to back, and then so many surprises that I can't say yet.
Yeah. That's okay. I want to save some, because I'm like, it's just so good that it's like, I want to give you a little bit, but not too much, because I'm telling you, you got to be there.
Yeah.
You just have to be there to experience it. So when you're not focused on CultureCon and growing businesses, what's something that Imani loves to do?
Ooh. I mean, I've really been asking myself lately, like, what does Imani want? And not judging myself for that and then doing it. So earlier this summer, I said, what does Imani want? And the answer was, I want to go to London. Why London? But it's like, as a kid, you fantasize about being this adult and I'll do whatever I want to do.
Traveling and doing all these things.
But then you get to adulthood and you're like in this pattern that
and you're like, child, these bills, hold up.
Well,
that too.
That's a real thing. So I like to just save my little Easter eggs and tuck away my little coins for these moments of like, what does Imani want to do? So that's kind of a big what Imani wanted to do. But on the smaller size, I've been like, I have a plant kind of garden going on. I would do that. I'm working on kind of decorating my home. I just finished my library.
Oh, that's going to be so good.
Yeah, I bought a remote control car. I'd be racing it through my house. I
love that.
It's like my inner child
is like coming out. But I feel like, we need that in order to become the next versions of ourselves.
Well,
because if you really tap back into how you were as a kid and I feel like that starts to bring out the things that you really are passionate about and your why.
Yes.
Because it's like, wait, when I was a kid, it was so easy for me to be like, I want to be a doctor. I want to do this. I want to, and then when we get older, like you said, society, parents, what people expect to see from us, we kind of get so stuck on that we forget that, wait, that wasn't actually what I wanted to do.
Jazz, you literally hit the nail on the head. It's like we knew from a young age, I loved curating community. I also loved my sacred spaces. And if I look back to younger Imani, she's that version now. I love community. I love having people at my house. I love CultureCon. But I also love, going upstate with my mom and having like solitude. So I feel like the duality is like what I like to do in my spare time.
Speaking of coming home to solitude, you recently had a post that said you finally come home to yourself.
Yeah.
What does that mean for Imani?
I think, when we talk about kind of all the boxes people try to put us in, I was trying. And a lot of people were like, CEOs don't go to estate sales. CEOs aren't.
What?
Well, I was like, but I do enjoy these things. And I do want to talk about this burger I just had. And so I think it's just embracing, coming back to the things that I naturally like. And
not feeling like pressure.
Not feeling the pressure to show up as a certain way, because I think people are so hungry. I know we say vulnerability a lot. I know we say authenticity a lot. I recently just dropped these like CEO diaries where I just showed the highs and the lows. And so coming home to myself is, I'm going to tell you that entrepreneurship has changed my life. It has expanded my mind in ways that I never thought were possible. Right. And it's really, really hard. And there's nothing wrong with working in corporate. And there's not one version to show up as yourself. And so I think the more people try to put you in that box, you got to come home to yourself and be like, what would 6-year-old Jasmine say? I'm going to go that way.
So, because we have literally realized that, the younger us, we're kind of getting our way back to that, right?
Yeah.
For the ones that are young right now, and they're trying to get to our stage, what's some advice that you would give them? Because like I feel like this is such a like hard thing. When people ask me for advice, I'm like, man, I want to set them up for success. Like, what would I tell younger Jasmine, right? But at the same time, I'm like, everybody is so different that you got to be. I mean, they're coming up after us, so they're like a little flower out of soil to me. You know, like they're getting a little sun, they're getting a little water, but like how I feed into them, I'm the fertilizer when I give advice. I'm like, but what should I give you to really help you grow? What would that advice be?
I got really good advice because my mom, I think in 7th grade asked me what I wanted to be, and I was like, huh?
You're like, girl, what? I'm about to go outside play at recess. What are you talking about?
I still live here. Like, I don't know. But it kind of really started me on this journey. And what I did in 7th grade was I got a white piece of paper and I drew a line down the middle. And I said, things that I like, things that I don't like. And I just made a full list. And it wasn't in a certain category. It was everything. And I was like, I like talking to people. I like also being alone. I like television. I like New York City. If I go back and I look at that list,
You still have that list, Imani?
Yes, Jazz. It was guiding me.
Wait, you literally still... I'm sorry, I got to see it now.
I have a pop-up.
You have to take a picture and send it to me.
I will send you the picture.
That's crazy.
Because we know what we want. But then the world tells us that's not what we want. So you have to spend time with yourself and say, here's the other thing. Lower the stakes. If you're in your 20s, lower the stakes. There's all this pressure to be a millionaire on a private jet.
Social media.
Bring it on down.
Yep.
And just say, what do I enjoy without everyone telling me what I should enjoy? And what you can do is you can remember to go from something to something. So it's a lot like dating, right? You don't really know what you want, you don't want, so you start dating.
Until you start dating.
So you might think you wanted da-da-da-da, then you meet da-da-da-da, and you're like, oh, I don't want da-da-da-da-da. So what I wrote down was, I want to be a television personality. Girl, I was interviewing people, and I said, at the time,
You're like, this was cute. This was real nice. I loved everybody.
Yeah.
But this is not. That's so interesting.
And so make that list. And then what you can start doing is creating these actionable next steps. Like, you know what? Okay, I think I want to work in television. Go get an internship in television. One of two things is going to happen. You're either going to love it, so you should get another internship in television, or you're going to hate it. And so maybe you should pivot. And that's all that life is. Do I love it or do I hate it? And then I just keep pivoting until I land on something that feels like I'm coming home.
Yeah, I recently had an acting class and it was virtual, and the guy was literally like, some of you guys I will see again, some of you guys I won't. Some of the guys, you're just in here because you're like, is this something I really want to do, or is this not? And then after, some of the people were falling off the call as he was going through the stuff. I was like, well, I think they figured it out really quickly that maybe this is not what they wanted to do.
Yes.
But it's interesting that you say that, because it's true. You said you got to do it in order to figure out, do I really want to do this or not?
Yeah, and really do it. I think you got to have integrity with your work. So I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, but sometimes people are like, if no one's watching, what matters? You're watching. It matters. If you say you're going to show up for an internship, or you say you're going to try something, don't be late. Because what you're subconsciously telling yourself is that you don't take yourself seriously. If you don't take yourself seriously, then don't waste anyone's time.
Well, that, and you can't really expect other people to, because it's like you're not really showing up as your full potential to then let people see, oh, this is what she has. This is what she can bring to the table.
Yeah.
Because if you're halving it, then it's like, and maybe she can, maybe she can't.
Maybe she can't. And so I think you're not really going to know if something's for you if you're not really showing up for it with all of your might. And then you can truly say, I gave it my all. It's not for me. But that's the advice I would give, is like one step at a time. And like, it's really just about kind of figuring out, if you like it or not.
Okay. Any recent revelations you've come to?
Ooh. I just heard something that was really great. It said, it's not enough to manage your chronic stress. You have to eliminate it. And I was like,
well, in that case, bang.
I'm
just playing.
So I've become really obsessed with finding places in which there's unnecessary stress being late. So now I'm like, Imani,
I procrastinate a lot.
Well, I'm like, are you a masochist? Why are you don't have to be late. You're doing this to yourself. Your cortisol's gone. And so I'm like,
it's like you're putting yourself in these positions, but you know you could. Yeah, I'm like that, especially with content. I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna do this. Man, my notes section, crazy. You'd be like, wow, this girl is great. She's doing it.
Yeah.
Baby, when it comes time, I'll be like, but wait, never mind. Well, I'm gonna just put it off another day. Maybe I'll film it, and then you put yours. That's very true.
So, like,
we just wait.
We just wait. So setting up systems, and also like I'm just like starting to really know myself, because there are times where I'm like, I know I have this on the calendar. I'm not doing this today. So it's just like knowing the difference and knowing your boundaries. Yeah. So I'm really just getting in tune with myself. Like I said, when you first asked, I've never been this in tune with myself. I did not think that Imani had a say. I thought that Imani was here only to serve
other people.
And I am here to serve, but I'm also a person who can be served. And so I'm just kind of like I said, what does Imani want to do today? And a lot of times that is to be in community or to serve. And sometimes I'm just gonna, lay in bed and watch Love Island.
And that's it.
That's what we're gonna do.
So since now you're kind of like, okay, I'm lowering the stakes here.
Yeah.
Is there something that we can expect from a future Imani? Like something that's to come, something you're excited about? Whether it's something like you're dabbling in soon, or you're just kind of like, hey, I think I want to kind of try this out, because just like you said, we have all these different versions of ourselves. So I'm very curious to see what's the next version of Imani we're going to get.
Ooh, Jazz, that is such a good question. I mean, this year has been unreal, because I look at the top of this year, we were ringing the NASDAQ bell. I just came from the White House last week.
And can we talk about your outfit for just a second? Because it was so cute. I was
like it?
Please.
Okay.
I was like, okay, she's meant to be there. Okay.
Even my fashions have been more of me experimenting. I used to be someone who had to call my sister for every outfit.
Really?
I know. I was like, is it cute? Is it cute? And so even coming home to myself is, I like it.
I'm wearing it. Because literally when you walked in, I was like, I cannot get over this top. Can we please have a moment for the top? Because it is way too cute. And I'm like, well, I would have never even thought to put that together.
Thank you. So it's just kind of like trusting yourself. And we all, like I said, we all know. There's a knowing. And so I think the next version of Imani, there's even more trust in myself. And I think it's also kind of like, I really want to bring back creative residency, which is kind of this really cool capsule that I've put together. It's like a curriculum for people who are overworked and exhausted. Yep. How to come back to yourself. So I really want to kind of flush out that curriculum and just invite creatives to rest and to see the beauty of seasonality. We as creatives are always on. And when we're not on, we're punishing ourselves, we're comparing ourselves, but we have to think of ourselves as athletes. Athletes don't compete all year long. They're in conditioning, they're resting, it's go time, and then even every 4 years, it's the Olympics. We are athletes. So we have to now think of ourselves, I'm not lazy, I'm in recovery.
I'm in recovery.
I'm in recovery.
Like, I'm trying, y'all. Just give me a little grace.
So that I can pop out and show you what I have. And so creative residency is all about thinking about the seasons of a creative and just redefining. It's not rest in the way that's lazy. It's rest in the way that's restorative. So
no, I think I could definitely see like a little retreat or something.
Ooh,
like
for creatives, for burnt out creatives.
I feel like it should be small. So again, we still have that community. I mean, it can get bigger. I don't know. I don't do the events, but I'm saying it sounds good, because I would want to go to one where it's like, oh my gosh, y'all. And then like you could vent, you can talk about things, but you also don't have to think about creating anything. Actually, no phones allowed.
No phones allowed. We are building this together.
Okay.
There are no phones allowed.
Nobody knows nothing. We just in here together. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to rest.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Oh man, that's going to be so good.
We're tired. We need to take a nap.
We just need a little break. Just a little break. Just a little bit. Well, thank you so much, Imani, for being on my podcast. You know it means so much to me. Again, I've admired you from afar for a very long time. But you also, again, I feel like you tapped into me when nobody else even knew I was here. Nobody was even looking at me. And you were like, that girl in that corner on that internet, get her in this restaurant and let's do this event. And that's what it was for me. And then it kind of like, it just helped me so much. So I appreciate you. I want to give you your flowers now in person, and just thank you so much for making a space for us as creatives.
Well, thank you for this platform. I think you're so brilliant, and I've always thought this, and it's kind of like what we were saying, whether people see it or not, they're late. It does not change our value. You'll see it later. There's so many times people have counted me out. I don't talk enough. I don't talk loud enough. Let me work.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
you've definitely told me that a lot of times. I'll be like, Imani, I feel like I suck at this.
No.
I feel like I'm not doing good at this. And Imani be like, girl, if you don't get yourself together, you are great. You just, if people don't see it yet, they just don't see it yet. But you got to keep going. So I appreciate you so much for that. So I don't know about you guys, but y'all should be full as a tick on a hound dog after all this stuff. I know you would like that. I know you
That's a good one. That's a good one.
After all the gems that Imani has dropped today for you guys, man, I don't even know how to come back from that because it was just so good. But yeah, we got to wrap this episode of Let's Clear the Air.